What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? And today I want to talk about Call of Duty Vanguard. Yeah, this is going to be unusual, but I'm a huge fan when it comes to first person shooters, first and foremost. Let's just put that out there right now. Okay? What I really want to discuss about this game is I really think that Call of Duty Vanguard is a good game. Yes, I know. I'll probably get some negative feedback on this, but I don't care. What I really want to talk about this game is this game is basically heavily inspired by World at War to a certain degree because in a major way, in a very unique way as well, because this game is on the has the feature of using both of the Pacific Theater and the Eastern Front from World at War, and but it was the fact that what I understand is that the beta was actually able to show that off in a unique way. And not only that, it also does a little bit of emphasis on the gore in the series that any other game has rarely ever been able to do since then. And I think that's where this game really shows off a really good, visual appealing and fidelity of it. And what I will say is that I'm actually having a lot of fun with this game. I haven't finished it yet, but however, I really think that this is a really good game because I loved World at War. I think it was a fantastic game. I'm more of a Battlefield guy, really, to be quite honest, but I do like a good Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty World at War was really good. Actually, it was phenomenal, I might add. But I think when it comes to Vanguard, Vanguard really took me back from what World at War was able to do because of what I just previously explained. But this is where this game it's it's a little different and it's kind of a little, I wouldn't say chaotic, but it still feels like that from World at War. But at the same time, it doesn't, because and what I mean by that is the fact that World at War was, I'm trying to remember this as much as I can here, so my apologies on this. It was a game to where it wasn't always going to be at one specific spot of the game. It went into certain types of levels, obviously, because each Call of Duty game is always going to have its own type of level progression with the character you played the most. I mean, and what I mean by that, Vanguard was actually able to utilize different types of stories, basically mini stories along with different characters. That is one thing I actually really like about Vanguard. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment here because I want to talk about a little bit of World at War, because World at War it wasn't simplistic. It was hard. I remember that it was a little difficult, but it felt like a little bit of a Medal of Honor, I would say Rising Sun rather than Frontline, because Medal of Honor Rising Sun was actually one of my first Medal of Honor games I've played. Opposite that, from the Medal of Honor Underground from PS1 and Medal of Honor on PS1 as well. But I think when it came to World at War, though, other than the fact that Call of Duty and Medal of Honor do kind of have some shared similarities because they are part of that first-person shooter genre. But it's the fact that, each game, when it came to either a Battlefront, a Medal of Honor, or Call of Duty, they're always going back to a certain type of era that will be somewhat familiar and similar to that, but they do have their own different types of takes of story. And that is one thing what I really absolutely love about Vanguard, though. And that's why I was saying I want to talk about more about Vanguard, because I feel like when it comes to Call of Duty Vanguard, though, this game really implements a very unique way, as I previously stated, playing through different types of characters. And I don't remember the names, so my apologies on this. But this is where this game really shows off a really cool story from each character that you play, and showing the story of that each different character that you play as in this game. And Battlefield 1, actually, if I remember correctly, does this as well, which I have not finished yet. But however, that is what I think makes Battlefront 1 or even Call of Duty Vanguard so unique, because they're having these different types of stories from different characters, showing that backstory of that character and what they went through. And it was the fact that, but in the main game themselves, they actually all get captured by Dominic Monaghan. I believe that's what his name was, that played Pippin in the Lord of the Rings franchise. And he does an excellent job I would say I think he did a fantastic job playing his role, and for what I don't understand if he got killed or not because I have not finished the campaign in Vanguard yet. But however, I think that's where this game really does an awesome job of showing off each different type of character progression. You know, what character that you play as in each part of the mission. There is one mission that I actually recently went through to where you actually have to fly as a flight person, if I be so bold about that. And you basically have to fly your plane and you have to shoot specific types of airplanes to save your crew. And it was, oh man, it was fantastic. I actually had a lot of fun with that, but the controls were a little wonky. I literally had to dumb or dial back some of the control customization on that so that way I can be able to have more of a fluid experience. But however, that is what I'm saying is that, that is what I love about Vanguard, other than Battlefield 1, because you're not just playing as each different type of character. I know I'm going back to this, but it's where Vanguard really shows off the story as a whole. And that's where from, Laura Bailey, if I remember correctly, she does the role of the Nightingale, which I actually recently played through as well, and it's so good, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's by far one of the best missions I ever played in this game so far. But each mission that I played as from each different type of character was so good overall, and that's where the overarching storytelling is really good as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure, like I said, I'll probably maybe get some negative feedback on this, but this is what I'm saying. I really think I think it's smart to where if they're going to make games like this from now on, rather than just playing as one protagonist, which is okay though too, but playing different types of protagonists in a game like Battlefield 1 or Call of Duty World at War or Call of Duty Vanguard, excuse me, I'm sorry, my bad, is the fact it just goes to show you that I think that they did a really good job with each character and the way how they were able to use the background story of each character and showing off what they went through and how they got captured. And that's where I think that this game really shows off the story aesthetic and the concept of it. And like I said, they got captured and blah 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 blah. And so that's what I'm saying. This is where this game does an awesome job with its storytelling. I don't think I have never played any other type of game other than Battlefield 1 that has this type of same type of aesthetic than to what Call of Duty Vanguard does. But I think that's where they should go from that. I think this is what they should do from now on, in my personal opinion, because while playing as a normal single protagonist in any kind of game, whether if it's Medal of Honor or Call of Duty or Battlefield or any other first-person shooter, it's always just going to show off really cool story. And that's what I really love about these games. And so that's what I'm saying. It's the backdrop of these games. And it's why I like first-person shooters in general. I think it's great. And, going through different types of characters in Battlefield 1 or Vanguard, you're getting a really good story. I love that. And that is one thing I really greatly appreciate when it comes to, games that might have a multiplayer, but I'm not much of a PvPer. And it's hence the reason why I'm making a video on the campaign here a little bit, is because that's where I feel like that, even though that I know that Vanguard was like critically downgraded from a lot of people saying that this was the worst Call of Duty ever made, and I would say it's like, what kind of Call of Duty game do you think is the best? My personal opinion. But again, it's just like I really can't say what other Call of Duties that were really good opposite that of World at War or Vanguard or World War II, which I have not played, but I do have that game. And so then it's just the fact that I want to invest into this game even more. It's showing me of what a game can actually show off in terms of its storytelling. And I think that's where this game really does it magnificently. And it's the fact that you're you're going through different types of missions. Sometimes you have to be stealthy. Sometimes you can go all hot, basically firing and all that kind of stuff. But that's where this game, again, really compares to that from what Call of Duty World at War was able to do. I remember, if there's one thing I do remember in World at War, is that there were some stealth missions to where you have like a silenced pistol. I think it was known as the Well Rod, if I remember correctly. And it was dope. And I remember using that same type of weapon in the Medal of Honor games, especially the earlier titles like on PS1 or on PS2 or on Xbox, which is Frontline and Rising Sun. But then again, it's the fact that and then once you venture off into more missions in Vanguard, you play as the Nightingale, as I mentioned before. And what I love about the Nightingale missions, because you're playing this sniper girl, and like I said, she's played by Laura Bailey, if I remember correctly. Or Ashley, I think it is Laura Bailey. I thought it was Ashley Birch from Horizon. But then, so that's what I'm saying. I think Laura Bailey did a fantastic job doing this role because, she's profoundly, really critically acclaimed actress. She did the voice of Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. I think she did a fantastic job in that, and she got a lot of hate for doing that role. But I think that she's still an excellent actress. I think that's where these games, when it comes to Call of Duty or any other single-player games for that matter, they all have their unique place. And so I'm just thinking that when it comes to a Call of Duty game like Vanguard, or when it comes to Battlefield 1, or when it comes to World at War, it's okay to have different types of mission structures when it comes to different types of characters and having that backstory of each different types of character in the missions that you play in this game. But again, going back to Battlefield 1, having that same aesthetic really shows off a much deeper story. You're getting more of the backstory of the person, of each person that you play as. And like I said, in my personal opinion, I think it's great. I think it's definitely profound. It shows off as to what a story can do, how it can tell, and what character that you're playing as, and getting the story involvement and how they're most important into that story campaign itself. And I think that's where Vanguard does an excellent job on that. Like I said, I have not finished this game yet, but I want to, because this is why I am a seasoned FPS player. Whether if it's not PvP or not, or whether if it's a single player game, it doesn't matter, because I have always been a big fan of these games. And I have been made fun of. I've been criticized from friends online on PlayStation and said, "Why are you just bought the Call of Duty Vanguard just for the campaign?" And it's like, I'm like, yeah, so. But again, it's like I said, I like good campaigns. I really think that Vanguard has a really good campaign. And I love the mission structure. I love the backstory of each character, as I've previously mentioned. That is where I'm saying where this game really shows off a good certain type of degree where the stories are going, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know. And it's great. And so I think that if we get more Call of Duties like this, or if we get more Battlefield games like this, it's actually a lot better than I've anticipated, because like I said, I was a little bit more of a Call of Duty player back in the day, but then I got more invested into Battlefield. But again, Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Vanguard do have some shared similarities. But then again, when it comes to Call of Duty Vanguard, though, it plays very similar to what World at War was back in the day. And that is why I think that Vanguard is utterly fantastic so far. And I want to see where another game like this could go. I love the visual appealing. I love the visual fidelity of this game, even though if you're playing the PS4 version or the PS5 or an Xbox Series X or S. But even then, this game is so good. And it's the fact that, but again, it's what this game was actually able to provide for me as a solid FPS fan as I am. So that's all I can say. But anyways, too much further ado, thank you for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Any comments or questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And you guys have a good rest of your week. Chat you guys later. Peace.